I'd like to take the story of Pastor Adefarasin, if we can have that, please. Religious leaders also have been speaking about the state of the nation. They've been speaking about insecurity. And I'd like to just take this comment from Pastor Adefarasin, who is now weighing in on Nigeria's deepening crisis. The senior pastor of House of the Rock Church, Pastor Paul Adefarasin, sparked a heated debate online after he described Nigeria as dead, bluntly stating that anyone who counts their wealth in naira is poor. Adefarasin made the comments during a sermon on May 17th titled "Becoming Who God Says You Can Be," the sequel, where he spoke about how much value the naira has lost through the years. Let's take a look.
Nigeria is dead. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let me tell you something. I'm going deeper in a minute. Let me tell you something. Once you're counting in naira, you are poor. I was not born poor. My father's salary, his last salary, in the 1970s or 80s, I can't remember when it was about 18,000 naira. That was money. Let me make it clear to you. How much is $1 billion naira today in dollars? Or 1.4 billion naira? How much is it in dollars? Only $1 million sparing. Do you know what $1 billion naira was when I was 15, 16? $2.8 billion.
Nigeria is dead. This is what Pastor Paul Adefarasin said from his pulpit. And people are reacting because he said it out loud, what many Nigerians are feeling. We've just spent time covering insecurity stories, and now a prominent pastor is saying the country is dead. Now, as we approach 2027, the question is, does anyone in power care enough to attempt a resurrection?
Nigeria is dead. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let me tell you something. I'm going deeper in a minute. Let me tell you something. Once you're counting in naira, you are poor. I was not born poor. My father's salary, his last salary, in the 1970s or 80s, I can't remember when it was about 18,000 naira. That was money. Let me make it clear to you. How much is $1 billion naira today in dollars? Or 1.4 billion naira? How much is it in dollars? Only $1 million, Query. Do you know what $1 billion naira was when I was 15, 16? $2.8 billion. $2.8 billion, and we're taking it because we live in the now. We don't study history. They wrenched it out of our academic systems, and we don't research data to project our future, to know what tomorrow will look like. So we're not doing the critical thinking. So we have no combatant against our subconscious foolishness that determines our behavior.
Just days before February 25, 2023 presidential election, Pastor Paul Adefarasin, senior pastor and founder of House on the Rock,
the state of the nation,
Lagos, delivered a sermon that set social media on fire and divided Nigerians along political lines. The country was in a highly charged atmosphere. 3 major candidates were in the race: Bola Tinubu of APC, Atiku Abubakar of PDP, and Peter Obi of Labour Party, with Peter Obi commanding massive grassroots energy, especially among young Nigerians, known as the Obedient Movement.
Titled "Becoming Who
Pastor
God
Paul
Says You
stated
Can
that
Be," the sequel,
the result of the election may not go the way some people want. He spoke on the outcome, using the story of King David and Saul in the Bible, stating that Saul would have to come first and rule before David. His exact words were, "The elections may not go the way you want them to. If there are elections, they may not go the way you want them to go. But I want to speak to you in a parable. Saul came before David. David did not come before Saul. He elaborated further, saying, here is the parable. Saul came before David. David did not come before Saul. Saul will come, and David will come after. He also added a nuancing remark.
Nigeria is dead. This is what Pastor Paul Adefarasin said.
Saul was not all that bad.
And people are reacting because
he didn't start out badly.
It out loud. What many
now,
Nigerians
he encouraged the congregation to go and pray for a peaceful transition of power.
And now a prominent pastor is saying the country
the sermon
is
landed.
Dead.
Now,
as we approach 2027, the question is, does anyone in power care enough
and exploded.
to attempt
the sermon landed like a grenade in Nigeria's political climate. The obedience movement had widely cast Peter Obi as their div, a young, disciplined, relatively clean outsider, challenging the old political establishment.
I was not born poor.
Tinubu was widely read as the sole figure, the powerful, established incumbent type. So when Adefarasin declared Saul will come before David, millions had it as Tinubu will win, and Obi's time has not come yet.
Let me make it
the reaction was swift and brutal. Critics flooded social media with one commenter writing, Pastor Paul Adefarasin wants Saul to rule over Nigeria, so you can go to his church looking for business miracles that your PVC can solve. Another wrote, Tinubu is so bad as a candidate that this charlatan Yahoo pastor doesn't even have the balls to publicly endorse him. He has to talk in some biblical parable nonsense. Members of his own church youth WhatsApp groups reportedly scattered in heated arguments
because we live
over the sermon.
We don't study history; they wrenched it out of our academic
What
system.
was his defense and its ambiguities? In a follow-up response, Pastor Paul Adefarasin said he was unfazed by the backlash and maintained his stance, urging Nigerians to pick up their PVC and vote for whoever they deem fit.
That determines our
In a statement on Twitter, he wrote, God gave me that parable, and even as I released it, I've continued to search for its applicable meaning to the present Nigerian circumstances. I feel blessed to have your ear. However, I will ask that you listen deeply for understanding so that you do not miss the message. Saul, indeed, Saul, instead of trusting in God, tried to manipulate things and even discountenance his mentor, Samuel. David, on the other hand, stumbled but never stuttered. He was delayed but not too late. So, whether Saul represents our past or our present, only God knows. Whether David represents the future or now, I can't tell. He also wrote, I really believe that it will happen, and I wish that you could see what I see. The hope that the parable of Saul and David brings, the after victory. I understand that there are varying interpretations of the parable, and that is fine. However, remember that the giver of the parable is the one that can give meaning to it. Now, on the surface, Pastor Adefarasin was given a prophetic parable, not an outright endorsement. He was careful enough to leave interpretive room on both sides. His defense that Saul represents our past or present is a legitimate reading. It could even be interpreted as saying Nigeria has already been living under Saul and David is yet to come. Now, why is it that a pastor that was so sure, that seemed to be so sure of what he said in 2023 before the election, that Saul must rule first and David will come next? Why is it looking like the pastor is now confused? The same pastor who said those things in 2023 is now saying something else again in 2026. Let's look into what he said.
Let me tell you
just recently.
I'm going deeper.
Nigeria is dead. That's what Pastor Paul Adefarasin said.
Something. Once you're
during a sermon
on
poor. May 17, 2026,
I was
titled
not born
Becoming Who God Says You Can Be. The
My
sequel,
father's salary,
Pastor Adefarasin told his congregation, we have a country that has more potential than 99% of countries on the surface of the earth. But it is dying, and it's been dying. It is in comatose.
That was money.
Now,
let me
and
make
its
it
body
clear
is rotten.
How much is $1 billion
He stated plainly, Nigeria is dead. Let's not deceive ourselves.
1.4 billion
Once you are
How much is
counting
it
in naira, you are poor.
Only
He
$1
added,
million.
people are suffering.
Query.
The economy is
what
not
a
just
billion
bad,
naira was
it is broken.
when I was
According to the
15,
historical
16,
comparison that he gave of
$2.8
the value of money while he was growing up and the present value of money now, what is the economic reality behind his words?
$2.8 billion.
The naira plunged from around 460 naira to the dollar
because we live in
in
mid
2023.
We don't study history. They
The moment
rinsed it out
Tinubu
of our
took
academic
office
systems,
to nearly
and we don't research
1,740
data to
in late
project our future,
2024
to know what tomorrow
before
will look like.
clawing back toward the
So we're not
1,350
doing
to
the critical
1,450
thinking.
range
So
in
we have
early
no
2026.
combatant
This
against
roller coaster
our
trajectory has
subconscious
imposed immense
foolishness
pain on households
that
and
determines
businesses.
our behavior.
The Naira's ordeal began
like
in
to take the
earnest
story
when
of
the
Pastor
Tinubu administration launched
Adefarasin,
sweeping
if we
economic
can have
reforms
that, please.
shortly after taking office in
religious leaders
2023,
also have been
unifying
speaking about
Nigeria's
the
multiple
state of the
exchange
nation.
rates and
They've been
removing the
speaking
fuel
about
subsidy.
insecurity.
These moves were
And
widely
I'd like to
applauded
just
by
take
international
this
financial
comment
institutions,
from
but
Pastor
proved deeply disruptive
Adefarasin,
for
who
ordinary
is now
Nigerians.
weighing in on
Nigeria's annual
Nigeria's
inflation rate
deepening
rose for a
crisis.
second straight
The
month
senior pastor
to
of House of the Rock Church, Pastor Paul
15.69% in
Adefarasin,
April 2026,
sparked a heated debate
partly
online
reflecting
after he
continued
described Nigeria
pass-through
as dead, bluntly
from a
stating
fuel
that anyone
price
who
shock.
counts their wealth
Food
in
inflation,
naira is
the
poor.
largest component
Adefarasin
of the
made
basket,
the comments
climbed to
during a sermon on May 17th
16.06%,
titled "Becoming Who God Says You Can Be," the sequel, where he spoke about how much value
key staples
the
including
naira
millet,
has lost
yam,
through the
flour,
years. Let's take a
ginger,
look.
beef, gari,
Nigeria is
tubers,
dead.
and
Let's
pepper.
not deceive ourselves.
So when
Let me tell you
Adefarasin
something.
says
I'm going
once you
deeper
are counting
in a
in
minute.
naira, you are poor, he's not being sensational.
Let me tell you something.
He's doing
Once you're
arithmetic
counting in
in
naira, you are
public.
poor.
A currency that has lost more
I
than
was not
2/3
born poor.
of its value within 3
My
years
father's
has
salary,
genuinely
his last salary,
impoverished everyone
in
whose
the
savings, salaries, and
1970s
dreams
or
are
80s,
denominated
when it
in
was,
it.
was about 18,000 naira.
Now let's look at the Saul and the David connection.
How much is a
Now
billion
here's the
naira
conversation.
today in dollars? Or 1.4 billion naira. How much is it in dollars? Only
Because
$1 million
the distance
Do you know
between
what a
his
billion naira was
2023 sermon
when I was
and his 2026 sermon is not just 3 years.
2.8
It is a moral and
billion
prophetic
dollars.
journey that deserves
Nigeria
honest
is
examination.
dead. This is what Pastor
In February
Paul
2023,
Adefarasin
Pastor
said
Adefarasin
from his
preached,
pulpit.
Saul
And
will
people
come
are
before
reacting
David,
because
which
he said it
millions
out
interpreted
loud.
as a
What
prophetic
many
green light for
Nigerians
Tinubu's
are feeling.
victory and a
We've
signal to
just
accept
spent
it,
time
whether he
covering
intended
insecurity
it that way
stories,
or
and
not.
now a
The
prominent
effect
pastor
was
is
to
saying the
calm
country
political
is
resistance
dead.
and
Now,
counsel
as we
patience
approach
before an election
2027,
many
the question
Nigerians
is,
were
does
already
anyone in
suspicious of.
power care enough
In May
to attempt
2026,
a
3 years later,
resurrection?
that same pastor is now
Nigeria is
declaring
dead.
Nigeria
Let's
dead,
not deceive
the economy
ourselves.
broken, and the
Let me tell you
currency
something.
worthless.
I'm going deeper in a minute.
The question
Let me tell you something.
we should
Once you're
ask
counting
is
in
this:
naira, you are
if
poor.
Saul came and Nigeria died
I
under
was
his
not
watch,
born poor.
what does the prophet who announced
My
Saul's coming
father's
owe to the
salary,
people?
his last
Yeah,
salary,
this is not about
in the
attacking a man of God. It's about understanding the
1970s
weight
or
of prophetic
80s, I can't remember when
responsibility.
it was
A pastoral voice that
about
shapes how
18,000
millions of
naira.
people vote, resist, or yield to
That was
political
money.
outcomes
Let me make
cannot
it clear
later
to you.
simply pivot to
How much is
economic
a billion
lament
naira
without
today
accounting
in
for the
dollars?
connection between
Or
those two
1.4
moments.
billion naira. How much is it in
To be
dollars?
fair and complete, his
Only
May
$1
2026
million.
sermon contains some
Do you know
genuinely
what a billion
courageous
naira was
and important
when
truths.
I was 15,
His
16?
diagnosis of historical amnesia,
$2.8 billion.
the erasure of history from Nigeria's education system, the failure of Nigerians to study data and project the future is one of the
$2.8
most
billion.
lucid things any Nigerian public figure has said in years.
And we're taking it.
He said, we didn't study history.
Because we live
They
in the
erased it
now.
out of
We
our
don't study
education
history.
system,
They
and we
erased it
don't
out of our
research
academic
data to
systems,
project what
and we
our tomorrow
don't
will look like.
research data to
We are not
project
doing
our future, to know
we
what
are not
tomorrow
doing
will
the
look
critical
like.
thinking. So we have no
So we're not doing the
combatant
critical thinking.
against our
So we have no
subconscious
combatant
foolishness that
against
determines our
our
behavior.
subconscious
This is not the language of a
foolishness
comfortable pastor collecting offering.
that determines our
That is a man
behavior.
wrestling with something real.
I'd like to take
His
the
framing of
story
Nigeria as
of
being
Pastor
comatose
Adefarasin,
rather than
if
simply
we can
dead
have
is
that,
also theologically
please.
and strategically
Religious
significant.
leaders also have
Before
been
comatose,
speaking about
because
the state of
comatose
the nation.
implies
They've
the
been speaking
possibility of
about
resurrection,
insecurity.
which is exactly the hope
And I'd like to
he
just
then
take
pivoted to.
this comment
He was not
from
counseling
Pastor
the despair.
Adefarasin,
He
who is
was
now weighing
framing
in on
an emergency
Nigeria's
that requires
deepening
kingdom-level
crisis.
intervention.
The senior pastor of House of the Rock
The
Church,
Nigeria
Pastor
is dead
Paul
sermon
Adefarasin,
lands in a
sparked
very
a heated
specific and
debate
volatile
online after he
moment.
described Nigeria
One
as
Nigerian
dead,
commenter captured
bluntly
the
stating
public
that
mood in
anyone
response.
who counts
Now my
their
eyes
wealth in
clear.
naira is
Clergymen
poor.
who were supposed
Adefarasin
to
made
be
the
watchers and
comments
advisors
during
to political
a sermon
figures
on May
turned
17th,
blind eyes
titled
and even
"Becoming
lived
Who
in
God
luxury,
Says You
in
Can
luxurious
Be,"
life.
the sequel,
Lived in
where he
luxurious
spoke
life.
about how much
Scared to
value
preach sermons that
the
would touch
naira
these
has
useless
lost through the
vampires
years. Let's
on the
take a
throne
look.
of power. Welcome to the
Nigeria
real
is
world,
dead. Let's
Pastor.
not deceive ourselves. Let me tell you something. I'm going deeper in a minute.
That moment,
Something.
that
Once you're
comment,
counting in naira,
raw
you are
as it
poor.
is, reflects a legitimate
I was not
historical
born
grievance
poor.
that a
My
significant
father's
portion of
salary,
Nigeria's
his last
most
salary,
influential clergy
in
spent
the
years insulating power
1970s or
from
80s, I don't
accountability,
know when it was,
baptizing political
was about
choices in
18,000
prophetic
naira.
language, and only finding their
That was
prophetic
money.
voice
Let me
when
make
the
it clear to you.
consequences of those
How much is
choices
a billion
became
naira today
impossible
in
to
dollars?
ignore, even from a
1.4
Lagos
billion
mega
naira. How
church
much is it in
pulpit.
dollars?
Pastor
Only $1
Adefarasin is
million
clearly an
today.
intelligent
Do you know what
and
a
genuinely
billion naira
patriotic voice.
was when I was
His sermon
15
about
or
the
16?
Naira, historical memory, and national identity is more substantive than
Nigeria
most
is
things
dead. This is what Pastor
being
Paul
said
Adefarasin
in
said
government
from his
buildings
pulpit.
right now.
And people are reacting
The
because
David he promised
he said it
is
out
still
loud.
waiting.
What many Nigerians are feeling.
The Saul he
We've just
announced
spent
has
time
ruled,
covering insecurity
and the
stories,
nation,
and now a
by his own
prominent
declaration,
pastor is
is now
saying
in
the
a coma.
country is
If
dead.
he is right
Now, as
that
we
only
approach
the kingdom of heaven can
2027, the
resurrect
question
Nigeria,
is, does
then the
anyone in
church,
power
including
care
his
enough
own,
to
must
attempt
reckon
a
not just with
resurrection?
the government's
Nigeria
failures,
is dead.
but with its
Let's
own
not
role
deceive
in the
ourselves.
political
Let me
theology
tell you
that
something.
brought
I'm
Nigeria
going
here.
deeper in a minute.
Thank you for listening. Share your views.
Let me
Do
tell
you
you something.
think
Once you're counting
what
in
Pastor Paul
naira, you are
Adefarasin
poor.
said was right?
I was not
Do you
born
think he
poor.
was right for saying Nigeria is dead?
My father's salary,
Do you think he's
his last
confused,
salary,
having said
in the
what he said in 2023 and now
1970s
saying
or
what
80s,
he
I
said
remember
in
when it was
2026?
about
Share your
18,000
comments, share your
naira.
views, pour your heart
That
out in
was
the comment
money.
section.
Let me make it
Like
clear to you.
the
How
video,
much is a billion
share
naira
it,
today
and
in
please
dollars?
subscribe.
Or
Thank you.
1.4 billion naira. How much is